Hello, everyone. Welcome to Creative Retail Talks. I'm Braden Cook, and I'm part of the Creative Sales Consulting Tribe. As I mentioned in the last episode, I'll be announcing and introing our staff picks for favorite episodes. And for this next pick, we chose to go with an episode that features 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧. Jim gives keen insight into what it takes to be a servant leader, how to recognize areas you need improvement in, and what his company is doing to develop the next generation of leaders, all of which, of course, are essential for sustained success.
Hey everyone, this is Clint with Creative Retail Talks, and I am really excited today to be visiting with Jim Iyoob. Jim is Chief Customer Officer of Etech Global Services. He is a 33-year veteran of the call center BPO industry. His responsibilities for Etech include strategy, marketing, business development, IT, program implementation, operational excellence, and product development across all of Etech's existing lines of business, which are Etech, Etech Insights, Etech Technology Solutions, and Etech Social Media Solutions. Jim, you're a busy guy.
I am, Clint, but I enjoy it.
He is a passionate, driven, and energetic business leader with a strong desire to remain ahead of the curve in outsourcing solutions and service delivery. Jim is an eminent speaker and has conducted various workshops sharing his experience with effective quality monitoring techniques and insights. Jim also serves as a panelist for several forums empowering people to understand and overcome contact center challenges. Due to his level of expertise, Jim has been featured in numerous publications, including CIO Review, Contact Center Pipeline, Connections Magazine, and was also listed. And I love this, Jim, and I heard on yours and Melissa's podcast, her reference, this is so cool. One of the top 20 influential people to follow on Twitter. That's pretty impressive, man.
Thank you.
Jim has co-authored 3 books with his lifelong friend, mentor, and coach, Matt Rocco, who is president and CEO of Etech Global Services. And I love this part about you, Jim. In addition to his responsibilities at Etech, Jim enjoys spending his spare time volunteering for various charitable organizations, including the Nacogdoches County Chamber of Commerce, the United Way of Nacogdoches County, the Boys and Girls Club of East Texas, and the Glory Game Ministry, a Christian service organization that is dedicated to assisting and teaching disadvantaged youth. So, Jim, great to have you on the podcast, man. I'm really excited about our conversation. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Clint. It's a blessing. Thank you.
You bet. So I'll tell you what, let's start out with the basics. Let's talk about Etech for a minute, since that's where your career is. Tell the audience, for people that don't know Etech, what is Etech? What do you guys do, and how do you serve your customers?
Yeah, so Etech's a great story. So I've been with Etech for about 21 years now, 20 plus years. And we are a contact center. We're an outsourced contact center for some of the biggest brands in the world. Our customers are innovators and game changers and like to deliver remarkable customer experience. And we started the company with about 400 people. Today, Etech operates about 3,500 employees in 3 countries and 9 dynamic contact center sites. And in addition to the contact center, as you mentioned, we have Etech Insights, which is analytics. So we're doing a lot of cool stuff with artificial intelligence and data scientists. And then we also have our own tech stacks we've built. We have full stack developers under our Etech Technology Solutions and several tech plays as well. So that's pretty much what we do. But at the end of the day, our goal is to make a remarkable difference for our customers. Yeah. And, I mean, that's the holy grail. And if you and people say, like, this is a great story of what Etech has done. The one thing I'll tell you, if you don't know this, we have no acquisitions, no mergers. All that growth.
That's impressive.
All that growth was organic growth, and I believe because of our leader, Matt Rocco, who, and again, as you and I have talked about before, I've been with this guy for 30 years. He's just a visionary, and he has set the tone to do business differently, which is people first culture, which is not as much as we see in the industries we used to.
Right. Or in the business world in general, for sure.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes. And let's talk about the culture for a minute, because I've been so impressed as I've learned more about Etech and what your culture is. And I know you have 12 character commitments that you have, that's part of your culture. We could probably spend a whole podcast just on that. but without spending a whole podcast on it, because there's so much else to talk about. Tell me a little bit about kind of where did those come from? How do you guys incorporate those into your culture?
Yeah, so Matt Rocco actually set our vision, which is to make a remarkable difference for each other, first, our customers, and then within our communities. And our mission is simple. Etech is a servant leader organization providing these customer experiences, right, to build stronger brands, strengthen customer relationships, and help our customers gain market share. Yeah. Right. So if you think about these character commitments, which is really cool, he built 12 of them, and he had a bunch of people helping all of us. We've all had input, and we decided on 12 that, I don't know why they picked 12, but the 12 are basically teamwork, accountability, humility, communication, positive influence, teachability, vision, courage, creativity, adaptability, integrity, and last but not least, valuing people. And that's how it started. It wasn't always like this, obviously. This is something that we've grown, but it's a great baseline to get people excited about careers and about, people think of a contact center, you're just answering calls. Now, you can change the lives of people because you can take an agent and move them into leaders and move them into, roles that can provide for their families beyond, an agent picking up the phone, answering calls, and trying to get weekend money.
Right.
As an example.
Yeah. Well, it's an impressive culture, and I love those character commitments as I was reading about those.
Yeah, it's cool.
And I can see how that would create a very, very engaged culture of employees and leaders together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know coaching and mentoring is a big part of your culture. Tell me a little bit about the role that plays in the culture.
Yeah, so we come from a school of thought that everybody needs a coach, including me. Yeah. Michael Jordan needs a coach, right? We all know those things.
Of course.
We call it a journey at Etech. So, as part of Etech's journey, right, we strongly believe that growth should be continuous. It's continuously to develop your skills and your mindset. It's kind of like when people ask me, well, how long is the training? Training's ongoing. It doesn't start and stop. It's a continuous process, right? There's always a way to make improvements. And what we've done is Etech has built specially designed coaching programs so that all of our employees are heading in that direction, including myself and Matt Rocco. We have a dean of leadership development, which we'll talk about later on, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, her only job is to develop and help all of Etech's leaders.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Oh, we love Melissa, and I'm sure Melissa would be a great host for you. Somebody you could host on one day.
Yeah.
She's a certified life coach, and she actually mentors me. I have one-on-ones with her all the time because I believe in myself that even me, I need better skills all the time. Doesn't matter.
Sure.
Whatever you did yesterday was great. But what have you done 5 minutes ago? And what can you do to bring more value to the table to not only the employees, but what value can you bring to your customers? Right. And you want to be able to learn. And the other thing that we've done in this coaching is this feedback. We say feedback is a gift, but you really need to teach people sometimes to be able to learn and to be open to feedback, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because if you're not open to feedback, then it kind of stops right there, doesn't it?
It's funny because I've had some people that worked for me in the past, and I said, listen, you want some feedback? I absolutely want some feedback. So you'll give them the feedback. No, I disagree with the feedback.
Thank you for your feedback. You're wrong.
Thank you for your feedback. You're wrong.
Oh man, that's good stuff. So let's shift a little bit. Still talking about culture. I know servant leadership. You mentioned big part of the culture. I know that's a big thing that Matt believes in and has really built the culture around. How has servant leadership been infused into the culture at Etech?
Yeah, so I will tell you, when we talk about it, think about corporate culture, right? It indicates how a company treats its team. What we call our people team members. How they treat their team members, their customers, the community they live in. I mean, Etech does tuition reimbursement for the community. We do a bunch of community events as well. Our customers, it's how you treat them. How do you prioritize each of those elements and those experiences that you offer? Because the experience is what makes the difference, right? And that's exactly what our vision is about your people, your customer, and your community. It's just like what we talked about in the vision statement, right? And we've talked about the 12 character commitments. Understand that everybody in our organization is going through training in those 12 character commitments. The person who's answering the phone call for you or making the phone call, to the coaches, to the HR people, every part of Etech is taught and learning and exposed to those 12 character commitment mindset.
Yeah, that's great.
It's people first. I mean, that's what you think about. It's people.
Yeah.
We talk about it, and I know a lot of people don't like to talk about religion. Whether you agree Jesus Christ died for your sins or not, my boss taught me this a long time ago. He was definitely the best servant leader out there in the business.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
if you think about it, and because we're a global company, you know, even when I lived in India for 2 years, he taught me this. So Matt's taught me a lot over my years. And when you think about it, you know, you're into a different country that, you know, maybe it's less likely to talk about things like that, but these guys really, it's about treating them, and man, it was such a blessing to be in a foreign country to be able to serve others, which is you know, is not the norm in what I've experienced in India as an example.
That's great, and you're right. Jesus was definitely the best servant leader that we've seen in history. That's for sure. So you've talked about kind of leadership development and training. Tell me a little bit about how does Etech build that curriculum or that path for both employees and executives for kind of that continuous growth and improvement and continuous leadership training?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when we implement, think about it. So Melissa Wood is our Dean of Leadership Development. She's got a team. I mean, her job is to have different types of leadership program designed for different people at different levels of their career path, right? So every employee matters to us, right? So when every employee matters, you have a growth journey basically sketched out for them, which would be aligned with their professional goals, as well as helping them reach their true potential, right? And I think the thing that she does really well and her teams do really well for us is we do these refresher courses, which is continuous learning, right? That's really what it looks like. And when you talk about, you know, what they have done, you know, we have training departments, we have leadership and development departments. Those guys are really the glue that puts us all together in the variety of leadership styles that we all have and really makes it good. Yeah.
I've got to say, man, and I think I shared this with you when we first started talking, the fact that Etech has a dean of leadership, that is the coolest thing ever. I'm sure there's other companies out there that have that, but I've never heard of a company with a dean of leadership. That's so cool.
We love Melissa. She, like I said, she helps me personally and my teams. It is a blessing to have someone who has contact center experience that really sees the same vision that Matt sees and helps get everybody on board.
Now I saw somewhere that the man John Maxwell came and did some training with you guys. So tell me about that. How often do you do events like that and bring people in like that?
So that was all Matt Rocco. So Matt Rocco actually lives, he has a house in Florida as well as Nacogdoches. And he was going to, my understanding is he was going to John Maxwell's church for a while, which he has brought myself, Melissa, our COO, Kayleen, Veronica, our VP. We all went to church with him a couple of times at John's church in West Palm Beach. And he started having conversations. And next thing you know, John Maxwell was on a plane up to going to Nacogdoches, Texas, which I know he would have never said before. But Melissa's certified John Maxwell leadership. So she that's what Etech teaches a lot of. We have a lot of it for years. And how it happened, I will tell you, God probably did it, because it's just crazy how someone with that famous would go to Nacogdoches, Texas.
When I saw that, I was like, okay, that's amazing. Maxwell went to Etech and Nacogdoches. That's so cool.
Yeah,
But no,
that's all Matt.
Well, good job, Matt. That's awesome. Well, yeah, Maxwell's content on leadership is just amazing. His latest book, Future Shift, which I haven't had a chance to read yet, but it's on my list. I'm looking forward to reading that. I've heard some podcasts with him talking about it, but John does some great stuff.
I'm reading this one now, the Change the World.
Okay, cool.
That's
Very
the new
cool.
one I'm reading.
Very cool. So we've talked a lot about servant leadership. Love that that's infused in your culture the way it is. Let's shift and talk about you personally a little bit. Let's talk about kind of your career path. From what I understand, you and Melissa both started as a call center agent. Is that right? So tell me about your journey through your career from where it started to where it is today.
So Matt Rocco hired me with a company called Dun & Bradstreet back in the 90s as a call center agent in his center in Dixon City, Pennsylvania. And when you get to speak to him, he'll tell you the story. Like, I remember meeting him. He was like a director, walked in and he met every employee. I mean, so think about it. I'm an agent, had no idea who this guy was. So I walked into his office because he called me in and he's just like, so what do you want to do? And I said, geez, I want your job. Right? And that was my first interaction with a C-level type person. I didn't know who he was, but he took it upon himself to, because I was new. So I started as an agent. And I will tell you, after I was working for Matt for about 9 months, there was a job opportunity inside of Dun & Bradstreet. He told me I should go for. I went, I interviewed for it. They hired me at a different location, and Matt was been my mentor. I didn't work for him anymore, but I literally was still Dun & Bradstreet at a different location, but he mentored me throughout my career. Right. Wow. So it was pretty cool because, we would golf together. We became friends, and he really gave me so much advice and just really mentored me, not as a boss, which was cool. Right.
Yeah.
Because, you can go in and say things that you're struggling with. And he was always this caring individual to help me. And obviously I've done very well because I've been promoted several times at Dun & Bradstreet before leaving with him.
Yeah. Yeah. And sounds like things have gone pretty well at Etech for you, which is great.
Absolutely.
So in a sense, he's kind of been your coach. You mentioned everyone needs a coach. Yep. Sounds like Matt's been a great coach for you.
Yeah, he's a lifelong friend and been a lifelong coach for me forever.
Yeah, that's great. So I love the next question I'm about to ask you. Just hearing people talk about this on their journey, because it is so much about the journey. Tell me a few of the highlights from your career journey from that day when you walked in Matt's office to today. And what have been some of the challenging moments that you've experienced on the journey?
Yeah, I think probably my biggest statement would be recognizing, right? Because when you're young, like you're this invincible person and you think you're the best. And, again, you're arrogant, you're cocky. So like the biggest lesson I learned and still today, by the way, I struggle with this one, which is why, like, that's the tough one for me, the humility piece, but it's really recognizing and self-awareness, right?
Self-aware. Yeah.
Self-awareness is what I really learned the most.
Yeah.
And Matt has taught me, and by the way, Melissa's and so many other people have mentored me through my career. But you think about it, I think it was Ken Blanchard who said it, like, if you get too busy with your job to grow, you can't influence the leadership and you become stagnant, right? Yeah. And unfortunately, if you don't recognize the lessons people are teaching for you to learn, it doesn't matter whatever age or experience, because you have to recognize that everything you're going through is a lesson.
Yeah.
That's probably my biggest lesson learned, which again, I'm still not perfect. I still call Melissa every other week for the same reason. And by the way, I have a book here in my desk. It was funny. I was showing her COO. This is my training book. So every time I have a conversation with Melissa, I mark all the tips she gives me in there, and I keep it at a hand's reach so that I can use it to mentor other people.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good. So you know what, you're hitting on something I wanted to visit with you about also. So tell me, you talked about this a little bit, but tell me kind of what has Etech done to help you develop as a leader? If you have anything else you want to say on that, and then what is your role in developing other leaders at Etech? So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think what Etech has done to help me develop as a leader is the training, right? So back in the days of, when people used to tell you what to do. And unfortunately, that's not a great environment, as you probably know, if you've ever had one of those bosses like that.
Yeah.
But what Etech did was they give you tools to develop yourself. And it's kind of funny because throughout my career, what I've learned, right, is your bosses should give you 10% of what you need to do. 90%'s got to be on me. So I believe in the role for me, they have given me the tools. I have books galore. Now, a lot of them are online, as you know, but I have books galore and I'm constantly learning. Yeah. Right. And then in the role that you talk about developing other leaders. So I believe leaders grow leaders and they grow other leaders. It's the John Maxwell's law of multiplication, right?
Yeah.
It's my responsibility to invest into leaders of tomorrow so that someday, hopefully, Matt and I can both retire and the rest of the people, right? But you'll never be able to get out of your job if you don't build other leaders.
Yes.
And in our leadership team at Etech, we have 5 key learnings, and they're called pillars of education, right? This is what Melissa has coined, 5 key pillars of education. Each pillar has sub-learnings, and it's everything from, and I don't have every one of her sub-learnings, but I know the 5.
Yeah.
Aspiring leaders, new leader assimilation, coaching, continued education, and zoned reinforcements. And I'm actively involved in all of those 5 pillars because I'm always continuing to learn, right? Yeah. And then, when you think about how you would share your personal leadership development, right? That's when you can I'm a storyteller, right? So I got lots of stories, and I believe people remember stories. So that's for sure. That's what I like to do in mine.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned some of what you're reading right now. Share with us what are some of the best things you've read lately in terms of leadership development?
So there's so many out there. Here's what I will tell you. So here's what I've done. So anybody who knows me, they understand I'm a huge believer in self-growth, right? I've challenged not only myself, but all the Etech leaders to read 1 article a day. Just read 1 article a day. That's what I've done. You could become a master in a year. Yeah. So this has helped me so many areas. I will tell you, Melissa actually took her LD&E team and actually implemented a segment on continuing education with reading an article a day. The biggest one that has had the impact on me in my career is probably the trusted advisor relationship. That's probably the best thing I've ever read. If you've never read that, that's just an amazing. And we're teaching those skills to everybody, because when you get to the point of your career, when a customer tells you something and you've earned the right to be a trusted advisor, to give them other things to look at, that is the holy grail, in my opinion.
For sure.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I would tell you. So I read a lot of everything, not just leadership development, but I'm reading about new technologies. I'm reading about what other companies are doing. I'm reading like an article a day. Like I said, I read about just about everything. So I'm never just looking at leadership. I look at other things to see how I can tie those things together.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you have kind of preset places you go, or are you just kind of always on the search for something that's meaningful and insightful?
Yeah, great question. So I've subscribed to a lot of different people who are influencers that write a lot of good content. And I spend literally 2 hours a day, roughly most days, on LinkedIn and looking for articles there. And then I'll the ones I subscribe to. But like I get up at 5 a.m, get my coffee before the day starts. I sit there, get my coffee, and I just open up my LinkedIn and I just start looking for things, and I'm seeing what's in my feed, and I'm just basically reading. Like I say, an article a day. I probably read 4 or 5. But my goal is at least 1 article a day. So I look at I used to use Twitter a lot, by the way. I've actually moved away from Twitter as much because LinkedIn actually lets me set that feed better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's, they're fed right to my feed.
Yeah, LinkedIn has some great content. It's really developed over the last few years with some great content. They've even got some great training resources, actually, that some of my team has used. So yeah, LinkedIn is putting out some really good stuff.
Yeah, our social media teams are actually going through a lot of the LinkedIn social media training, which is cool.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's very cool. Anything else that you can share with our audience on kind of your development rhythms? That's really good. Kind of reading a minimum of 1 article a day, 4 or 5, even better, spending some dedicated time to it. What else do you incorporate in your personal development rhythms?
Yeah. So first of all, if you've ever seen me dance, I have 0 rhythm. My wife won't even dance with me because she says it's terrible. So you do not want to see that. But when it comes to leadership development, I'm actually grateful for Melissa and the LD&E team, because they create this cadence of learning for me.
Yeah.
So literally my calendar blows up every day, right? With constant opportunities that I can go to. And what's cool about it is we all know we're busy, right? So they'll do a session, usually 30 to 45-minute sessions, but they'll put 5 of them out there in a week, which are all the same. Mm-hmm. So if I can't make the one, I can get another one, right? I can go look at another one. And then probably the biggest rhythm I have for me is our Dean of Leadership Development, which is Melissa. I have a one-on-one with her at least minimum 2 times a month. But I try to sometimes, like if I'm having a problem, I will call her, or she'll just call me to check in on me because she hasn't heard from me. She'll say, hey, I'm not worried about you. I haven't seen an email. So that's what I do. So they ensure that we have opportunities to consistently learn. Yeah. That's what it is. And that's the part that helps me be accountable, because we can all say we're busy and never go to a training session. But if they keep putting them in there and they're making it around your schedule and giving you that's the rhythm I have. I love the option of being able to pick 5 different times. And sometimes they're like 6 in the morning because of India, right? Yeah. Sometimes they're late in the afternoon. So I like that. That's my rhythm of what it does it for me.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation on the Creative Retail Talks podcast today. Be sure to visit our show notes page for more information on today's show. And if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, reach out to me at clint@creativeretailtalks.com. Creative Retail Talks is all one word. That email address will also be in the show notes. Hope you have a great day.